mysterious island that dates back to the 1500s BCE and has inspired countless legends. A ghost island shrouded in mists, revealing itself only once every 7 years. A forgotten legend lost in the dark depths of the Atlantic Ocean. An extraordinary adventure that appears for a fleeting moment and then vanishes again, preserving its secrets. The ghost island depicted on Piri Reis's map. The secrets of this mystical island trace back to the era of the Phoenicians. The Phoenicians were a Mediterranean civilization that flourished between 2500 BCE and 64 BCE during antiquity. In 1570 BCE, they pioneered a new industry with the discovery of purple dye extracted from the carnivorous sea snail Mirages. When these snails were attacked by predators or humans, they secreted a precious substance that could be transformed into dye. The dye was extremely expensive and at one point became even more valuable than gold. Only the very wealthy and members of royal families could afford to wear clothes in this color. Consequently, it became known as the color of royalty throughout the Mediterranean. According to some historians, producing just 1 gram of purple dye required as many as 10,000 snails, and this was only sufficient to color the edges of a garment. In 301 CE, during the reign of Roman Emperor Diocletian, an official price edict stated that half a kilogram of purple dye cost 150,000 denarii, equivalent to 1.5 kilograms of gold. This immense value of the dye drove the Phoenicians to sail into the open seas in search of trade opportunities. The Phoenicians ventured through the Strait of Gibraltar, journeying toward countries in the northwest of present-day Portugal. As they explored the Atlantic Ocean, they reported glimpsing an island that would occasionally vanish from sight. This island was frequently marked on their maps with ambiguous shapes and symbols, likely because its very existence could not be confirmed. The Phoenicians recorded that the island was abundant in riches, but often remained hidden due to powerful storms and dense mists. The place known among the Phoenicians as the Misty Island was a subject of fear often recounted by sailors. Dense mists frequently surrounded the island, leading to the belief that it would often vanish. Some Phoenician sailors claimed that the island's inhabitants would enchant and detain sailors, preventing them from ever leaving. This legend instilled great fear among sailors and increased their hesitation to venture into the Atlantic Ocean. According to Phoenician beliefs, this ghost island was protected by the gods and would only appear at times chosen by them. The Phoenicians believed the island was ominous for sailors, and they often described strange lights around the island as signs of the gods' presence. For this reason, when passing through the area, Phoenician sailors would offer sacrifices to their gods to avoid invoking the island's wrath. Among Phoenician sailors, there was a strong belief that pursuing this mysterious island would be a fatal mistake. The Phoenicians warned that the island, perpetually shrouded in heavy mist, should never be approached, lest they anger the gods and bring misfortune upon themselves. Thus, the Phantom Island remained a distant mystery, seen only from afar, yet considered too dangerous to approach. Some researchers mention islands that were once known to exist, but later submerged into the darkness of the sea due to underground movements occurring over time. By 1500 BCE, the sea level in the Atlantic Ocean was only a few meters lower than it is today. This rules out the idea that the island was submerged as a result of melting glaciers. Today, with the support of advanced technology, maritime research and satellite mapping can easily detect changes in maps. However, no evidence of this island's existence can be found on modern maps. Was it all just a legend? Why did Piri Reis document this phantom island? was the reason why explorers of that time specifically marked this ghost island on their maps to keep sailors away from it? Those who recorded the island were not only the Phoenicians. Through the colonies they established on the Iberian Peninsula, tales of the Phantom Island spread between Ireland and Spain. The Phoenicians, who came into contact with Irish sailors, shared legends about a lost island in the west, and the island began to be regarded as a mysterious place among Spanish and Irish sailors. The ancient Roman historian Plutarch wrote that the Phoenicians had discovered an island similar to Atlantis, but that this island had disappeared and retained its mystery. We are all familiar with the legend of the lost continent of Atlantis, but very few people have heard of the phantom island Hy-Brasil. This small island appears on all maps drawn between 1325 and 1595, and all place the island in the same location. According to legend, Hy-Brasil is located in the Atlantic Ocean, approximately 200 kilometers west of Ireland. The etymology of the names Brazil and Hy-Brasil is unknown, but in Irish tradition, it is believed to mean descendants of the Irish Brasail, one of the ancient clans from northeastern Ireland. For centuries, the island has been shrouded in mystery, both literally and metaphorically. It was said to be covered in dense mist for one single day every 7 years. Very few people claim to have encountered the island, and those who did reported that it was circular and divided into two by a large canal or river. A handful of people claim to have actually set foot on the island, describing it as being home to an advanced civilization rich in abundance and wealth. These accounts led to the Hy-Brasil legend becoming known beyond Ireland. In Irish legends, frequent mention is made of a mysterious island known as Hy-Brasil, following contact with the Phoenicians. This island, which the Irish likened to the lost continent, became a part of Irish mythology as a result of their commercial and cultural interactions with the Phoenicians. In some accounts, Hy-Brasil is described as a mysterious island inhabited by a civilization of immense wealth and knowledge. However, the island would only become visible when the mists cleared during certain years, only to vanish again. Historians believe that after hearing the legends of this island's existence, explorers marked this phantom island on their maps. Despite numerous expeditions launched in search of it, the island was never found. Nevertheless, it continued to appear on maps until 1873. The Irish writer Gerald Griffin, who lived between 1803 and 1840, wrote the following texts about the island. In the ocean that carves the rocks where you reside, a shadowy land appeared, so the tales describe. People believed it a haven of sunlit rest, and named it Hy-Brasil, the Isle of the Blessed. Year by year, at the blue edge of the sea, a fair ghost appeared. Faint yet lovely to see. Golden clouds concealed the depths where it lay, and from afar, it looked like paradise that day. O'Flaherty, in a text written in 1684, states, "From the Aran Islands and the western continent, the magical island known as Hy-Brasil, called Beg Ara or Lasser Aran in Irish, is visible and recorded on navigational charts. Whether it is a real and solid piece of land, preserved as an earthly paradise by the special command of God, an illusion formed by airy clouds appearing on the surface of the sea, or even a contrivance of evil spirits. These are matters far beyond what our judgments can uncover." The belief in the existence of the island of Hy-Brasil may have originated from these optical illusions, which are, perhaps, not as uncommon as commonly thought. A correspondent writes, "About half a century ago, I too saw a marvelous place resembling a mirage. which was said to have recently been seen off the coasts of Ireland. If it had been my first time looking at the bay, nothing could have convinced me that I was not gazing at a real city, a grand and beautiful city, with trees, houses, towers, castle-like buildings, and more. In 1888, McAnally described this extraordinary event in his book Irish Wonders. On the afternoon of Sunday, July 7, 1878, the residents of Ballycotton in County Cork were filled with excitement when an island previously unknown to them suddenly appeared far out at sea. The people of Ballycotton town and island were fishermen, as familiar with the sea as they were with the land. Just a day earlier, they had sailed their boats past the exact spot where the strange island now appeared, confident that this was their most reliable fishing ground. They kept watching, and their astonishment kept growing, for the weather was clear, and the northern hills of the island were plainly visible. The island was rugged, with some parts rocky and others covered in dense woods. Deep shadows suggested thickets and grassy areas. At one end, the island rose almost vertically from the sea, while at the other, the slope was more gradual, with the dense forest on the mountainous side giving way to smaller trees, then shrubs, and finally green meadows that merged with the sea, becoming indistinguishable from the waves. Hundreds of boats, both sailing and rowing, left the shore to investigate. As they approached the area, the outline of the strange island began to blur, its colors faded, and eventually, it vanished completely. The astonished villagers returned to shore, utterly convinced that, for the first time in their lives, they had truly witnessed the enchanted island. In 1674, Captain Nesbitt claimed to have discovered Hy-Brasil by chance. After anchoring near the island, he went ashore with some of his crew. In the dense forest, they came across an ancient castle. Upon entering, they found that everything was covered in dust. Suddenly, 3 elderly men leaning on staffs appeared before them. Captain Nesbitt's attempt to converse was met with one of the elderly men speaking in an archaic language, his tone carrying a palpable sense of threat. As they departed with their crew, they witnessed the island sinking beneath the waves, prompting them to flee. Scientists have since discovered a canyon that descends to depths of up to 3 kilometers near the area where Hy-Brasil is marked on historical maps. This canyon, known as Porcupine Bank, lies at the exact center of the anomalies recorded in the past. These overlapping accounts from different periods, along with the Phantom Island marked on explorers' maps, add to the enduring mystery of Hy-Brasil. The tale of its existence, passed down to the present day, remains an unresolved legend, a secret forever imprisoned in the vast expanse of the open sea. See you in the next video.